complementarity and bistable perception, that title indicates that we are really moving within the tension between physics and psychology already. Complementarity being a term which is, I think, best known from quantum physics, but I will tonight give you an idea that Niels Bohr, who introduced complementarity into quantum physics, did not introduce it out of the blue. He took it over from psychology, actually. That's historic. There's a very interesting historical story which I will elucidate to some extent at the beginning of the talk. And then, of course, I have to say something about the way in which quantum physics, quantum physicists, and also mathematical physicists use the notion of complementarity. And then at the end, I will turn back into psychology and show you how a well-developed and even formally rigorous notion of complementarity can, in recent work, be used to study certain phenomena in psychology. And among these phenomena, again, bistable perception features quite prominently. Okay, so this is the program, Psychological Roots. Then I will talk a little bit about Niels Bohr himself, His Majesty, one of the real founding fathers of the modern theory of the atom. Then I make some steps further, complementarity the modern way. How do we conceive complementarity in present days and in present science? That goes a little bit further than Niels Bohr used it. And at the end, current applications in psychology, as I said. Now, this is another way. This view graph shows you another way of really opening up the tension between different uses or usages of the term complementarity. And I will show you some quotations here, actually two quotations. The first one by John Archibald Wheeler, himself he was a student of Niels Bohr, and he wrote in The American Scientist, 1956, complementarity, the concept of complementarity, represents in one sense the most revolutionary conception of our day. He didn't say in quantum physics. He said this intentionally, quite generally. And this is a very positive statement, of course. But then, several years later, you see Mario Bunge, Canadian philosopher of science, in his book Philosophy of Physics. He says complementarity has now exhausted whatever potency it may have had. It has become an excuse for obscurity and inconsistency. So here you see the two poles, if you want, between which many other usages of complementarity are located, if you wish. So the first one really makes a serious statement in favor of the actual value of complementarity. And the second one, Mario Bunge, is not so enthusiastic, as you can see. He notices, obviously, that many publications which use the notion of complementarity just use it in a very vague sense without any specification, and just want to, this is this notion of indifferent harmony or something. It's not enough to say that my wife is so nicely complementary to me. This doesn't tell you anything, right? And I want to address this tension from a point of view which you can find in many places, but interestingly also formulated by Franz Kafka in the process, der Prozess. And Kafka said something which itself can be called a complementarity statement in some sense. He says, understanding something properly and misunderstanding it do not completely exclude one another. And this you can easily apply to the two statements which you see on top of the view graph. So I will try to go this walk on the ridge between Bunge and Wheeler and try to convince you that complementarity is a useful notion, but you have to use it with care.